Well, Sooner Nation, Thunder Nation, we are back. This is the Just Okay Sports podcast. That is Just Oklahoma Sports podcast and a Just Okay Sports podcast as well. I'm one of your village idiots, Daryl. I'm here with my brother, Jared. Please hit like, subscribe, follow, leave comments, leave reviews, do all the things. Please help us out just a little bit with that. And if you follow us on Twitter at Just Okay Sport, you can even go and find the link to online merch that we've created there that we'd love for you to do to help support what we do here, and hopefully make this thing even just a little bit better than okay if possible. So that's that. Jared, how are you, sir?
I am good. Just got back. I actually had to see you this week. So two games I'm never watching a football. I'm not watching any games with you in person again this year because the two that I've seen with you were a lot closer than they probably should have been. So
Yeah, that's fair.
but yeah, no, got back. So just getting reacclimated and all that. But yeah, I mean everything's good, living the Florida life. So lots
Sure.
of things. I was like, really, it was kind of fun on the way back. There was a lot of UCF people on the plane.
I didn't even think about that,
So
but
yeah,
nice.
so I was like, man, I'm so glad that we won, so I don't have to like hear. Which most of them are very, very nice. They seem like a pretty chill fan
Which, by the
base.
way, looking at the Central Florida Twitter stuff, they were all very complimentary, the stuff that I saw
Yeah,
on their
yep.
Twitterverse of their experience, which again, I just don't think we have a awful fan base in that way. Because we talk about this all the time.
Well, like remember
We
when
have a
Tennessee,
we
when we
have a
played
cousin,
Tennessee?
yeah, yeah. We have a
Yeah,
cousin that's a huge Tennessee alum, and he went on and on about his experience in Norman and how great, and said that the message boards of the Tennessee fans were saying how great the experience was, and that their whole goal was to outdo the Oklahoma fans when Oklahoma came to Knoxville. So
yeah.
kudos, Sooner Nation.
Yeah,
Well
and
done,
honestly,
all that
that
stuff.
when I was in like I said, when I went to Knoxville for that game, they were actually very kind and welcoming and everything else. So yeah, I mean, and the thing is, people have to realize that they're a younger program.
You're right.
Obviously compared to OU, but just younger in general. So there's a lot of things that they still haven't built the tradition up of and those sorts of things. But yeah, I mean, no, but it was good. I guess, I got to see your family and stuff. I had to see you too, but that sucks. But whatever. But yeah, no, it was a good time. So I'm good. How are you? How's the Okie life?
Okie life's good. Very wet today. Rained all day today. It's supposed to rain all day tomorrow, most of the day Thursday. But man, we've been like 2 months without rain, so that's been good. But
I
yeah,
need it.
we've got a fall festival at our church tomorrow that we're trying to prep and get ready for, and all the stuff. But yeah, man, life's good, and we made it back safe, and it was a great time in Dallas. Other than trying to watch a very tight OU game in the middle of main event, was
Yeah,
not ideal.
I was trying to watch the first half on my phone
Yeah.
at the aquarium. So
Yeah.
um yeah, but yeah, it was good. And then also like our Astros lost.
Oh no.
So and everybody's been piling on Twitter and stuff. So I'm like, oh,
Oh, of
whatever.
course. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That whole
anyway,
series was just so strange. But yeah, that's all the stuff. So look, all because of that, the travels, the etc., all the stuff, we did not get to do an exclusive review pod. And so now today, hopefully we can keep this thing to under 2 hours. We'll
yeah,
see.
this is gonna be
But
a long one.
we're gonna review and preview. We're gonna be talking some Thunder, and we're gonna be talking some general college football because we got to go out
Well,
west after this weekend. I
well,
mean,
just not
come
only
on,
just out west, college football is like, dude, it's like the
so
like
wild.
it's like pro wrestling right now. There's so many crazy, weird storylines all over the place. Like,
Yeah,
I don't even know. It's just wild times right now.
it is very wild. So let's talk about Central Florida OU game. Jared, would you say just overall kind of big picture, not happy, but not panicking? Is that kind of where you are? Is that the right assessment?
Yeah, I'm not panicked by any means, but you probably should have lost that game. But you won. You found a way to win. So I don't know. It's like a very yeah, not happy. I'm very neutral, I guess, on how I feel about it. Like it's a win. You lose that. I mean, that's what everybody's been saying, and I don't disagree with it. Is the last really 3 or 4 years you lose that game.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and
Yeah.
not only that, you probably lose that game big. So, you know, I think that UCF is, I think the other thing is I wouldn't be surprised if UCF isn't a team that doesn't go, and, you know, they're obviously what, they're 3-4 now, I believe. But you know, I can
Right.
see them that where they run the rest of the table or run the rest of their schedule. I haven't looked at their schedule, but you know what I mean? They're a good team. Um,
Right.
so you know, I don't know. There's some things that we need to like address, and there's concerns. Uh, and I think a lot of it is like we're gonna talk about it just a little bit, but it's like overarching things that just don't make sense to me, and like issues that I don't understand how you have them at Oklahoma.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think there's a little bit of that. And so let's get to that then. Let's kind of move out of that. Let's start with the negative first. That's how we do things here. We're going to start with the bad news and go with the good because there's always a little bit of both in every scenario. And so, Jared, kind of what were your main negatives? What were the main things that really bothered you about the game, concerned you, however you want to say that, after kind of going back and relooking at things?
I guess I'll give you two. I mean, there's a lot that I could probably circle. I mean, really, like this is the thing. This was the worst game OU's played this season by a good margin, and they still won against a very potent offense. So
Yeah.
I guess I'll preface it all by saying that. That's not really a good or bad thing, but you know, but the first thing is kind of like I don't understand. Well, let me go with a really negative. Dude, how is Schmidt? I don't understand what Schmidt I like BV's like fully thrown his support behind Schmidt. You know, and there's even I've seen you know videos circulating where he's got his arm around him and is trying to, you know, get him back in that headspace or whatever. But man, like you missed two field goals that were really should have been chip shots for you. I mean, these
Yeah.
weren't 50 yarders. I think one was like a 36 yarder and the other one was like a 38 or 30. They were both like in that 30 to 40 yard range, right?
Yep.
And there was even like a couple of field goals that he kicked, just extra point attempts where it's like you're kicking that really low. Like somebody could get a hand on it. And obviously in this game, every point count or mattered, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand how that's such an issue. And just special teams in general was really bad. Like Gavin Freeman had a really bad play. Um, you know, where it could have turned out a lot worse, where it's like he fielded the ball and he had literally like 5 UCF guys just bearing down on him. It's like you got to fair
Yeah.
catch that. And
Yeah.
there's one where he did fair catch and he was like at the 5 yard line. You know, so there's just the special teams really just does not feel like a focus. It feels very disjointed. I don't know. It just there's nothing. They have
Yeah.
playmakers. They have playmakers like Gavin Freeman is even as a playmaker, and Farouk and all that. Like they have those guys, but they just I don't feel like they're using them the way that they should. I know that Ozinga he punting was off the charts that
Oh, it was
game.
great.
So now it was one game, so we'll see. Um but yeah, so that just feels disjointed. And then like I guess it's like I'm gonna go with like really specifically the running back room. I don't really understand because it feels like we have a lot of talent there.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot of raving about Caleb Hicks in the offseason. We've even heard it some through the season. You know, Marcus Major, this isn't you try to spin it like I hate Marcus Major, and I don't. My problem with Marcus
Hey,
Major
I'm just
is
saying when I go negative, I'm Mr. Dark Daryl. Everybody else gets to just trounce on people, and it's like, oh yeah, that's fair.
well, okay. Here's my thing, and I went back and I've actually rewatched film Marty on this game. There's like 3 plays where Marcus Major just like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like somebody touches him and he falls down. Like there's literally a play where he's running through and a defensive lineman does like hit him in the chest, but it's not like a clothesline or anything. It's like he kind of grabs him by the shoulder pad and like he just goes down. Like it just looks like, you know, it's like I told you when we were watching the game live, I was like, dude, sometimes it feels like he has two left feet. Like he just trips over himself.
Yeah.
What's sad is like, it's like, there's times when it's like, I feel like he has a good enough burst. He has a good enough power that he could bust big runs. He may not be like that home run threat every single time he touches the ball, but it's like going back and watching that game, dude, there's probably 2 or 3 runs where if he doesn't just pretty much fall down, he's going for 20, 30 yards easy. And instead he's having to settle for 5 to 10 yards or whatever. So I don't understand the running back situation. Like we saw Sawchuk for one, really, like, and again, I went back and watched it and like we were talking about it, but like you didn't put Sawchuk, the play calling didn't put Sawchuk in a position to succeed. Like you're doing all these cutesy plays. Like the first time he touches the ball is a direct snap. Like what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for somebody that's really not played at all this season, doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. You know, and then you pull him, and you know, from what I understand, the personnel decisions are down to position coaches. So, but I'm like, in the game, is it the same where DeMarco pulled him from the game and said, like, you're sitting until the fourth quarter, and then fourth quarter he comes out and he's fine? So it's those things. And like I said, the one thing, and I really, again, bringing Farouk, I understand where the argument is, but it's like, especially with Andrew Anthony down right now, pulling Farouk out from the outside and putting him in the backfield when you have supposedly guys that are waiting to just knock on the door and get their chance to show out makes zero sense to me. Like, I'm not saying that the running or the wide receiver room is thin, but it's like in this game, it seemed like you had a lot of issues creating separation. So I don't really understand why you take one of your better players from the outside and put him in the backfield when you apparently have a stable of backs, right? So I guess it's just like the whole offensive personnel. I don't understand. Like I said, apparently BV has said that's down to position coaches, but I just don't there's no position group, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that makes any sense to me, as to why we're doing what we're doing. So yeah, I mean, those are the negatives. I mean, I think DG played good enough. I don't think he had a great game. But I also don't think, like I said, he was trying to have to throw into narrow windows because they were covering really well. Or we just weren't getting separation. So I don't know. There's a lot of things to break down. The offense was kind of the weak point. I mean, the defense gave up big plays, but it's like we kind of talked about this in the preview. That's kind of what you expected. Like this is the what were they, number 4 or 5 offense in the country or whatever it was, in total yards.
Right.
They're gonna have big plays, right? Overall, they played well, and really, when you watch the film, it's like, dude, like honestly, like the D line played really, really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
The D line was stellar, and I even feel like the linebackers played really well. There was a couple of times that they kind of, like, you could tell that UCF was doing something a little funky, but it's like they stood up. So, you know, I don't know. Like this game, I gotta like kind of circle the offense and special teams as a reason why it was down to a one score game.
Yeah. Yeah, and on all that, I think I agree with most. I think the only thing that is being made a bigger problem than it really is special teams, in my opinion. I think our field goal kicking is a problem. It's a problem. For the most part, punt return's been fine, kick return's been fine, kick coverage has been fine, and even punt coverage has been really good, I feel like. So it's really been the one game where our punter shanked multiple kicks in the Texas game and took 5 steps to punt a ball from the end zone, right? Like there's been some little gap, but like I think overall, like if it's one of those things a little bit like I'm about to say about the defense. If you took the totality of special teams plays, it's going to be, you know, if there's been 60 plays, I feel like 55, 52 of them have been great. And the 8 are just really gross, right? Because it's 4 missed field goals, a blocked punt, and, you know, those kinds of things. So I think overall special teams has been okay and even been a weapon for us. But the field goal kicking has to be. And it seemed as though today Brent Venables kind of alluded to the backup kicker, who is a highly rated kicker coming in, was not 100%. Is the way it felt, the way he answered that in his press conference today. So, would definitely say that DG wise, to what you said, yeah, I'd agree. The receivers weren't getting separation, and that made it a difficult day for him. Now, my number one, I think, is a little bit on what you're saying, but I will go broader than what you did. You mentioned the running back situation and what are we doing there? What are we not? You know, we alluded to the podcast last week. Caleb Hicks put this kind of cryptic tweet with a clock and ... right, as to kind of say it's time. We find out Tawi is suspended. We find out that Marcus Major isn't 100%. And you and I were looking at each other before the game as we found out all that, and we went, there it is. Hicks about to go crazy, and then he doesn't touch the ball one time in the game. It's like, okay.
Well, and I didn't even like Petaway. Like Petaway's had, like, he made a 10-yard gain on his one play. And it's like, I don't think he was on the field after that.
Yeah. And so the same thing broadly. Here's what I would say, and I don't want to, but I'm trying to be fair and honest with what I see. I believe for the most part what BV says is true, but this is the second time in the SMU game that we were at, was the other time, that they have not matched what they say with what they're doing. And what I mean by that is, you had a point at the end of the first quarter, I believe, start of the second quarter, you had a moment where Kobe McKenzie and Kip Lewis played an entire series. Now, we've both said, I think Kobe should play some more, right? But you haven't done that all year. Not all year have you done that. Robert Spears Jennings is in the back, in the safety, back end for like 2 whole series in the first half. Mm-hmm. Peyton Bowen, which we now hear that he was injured, but he played 5 plays. You haven't done that all year. You have gone with Key Lawrence, you've gone with Reggie Pearson, and you have gone with Bowman. Those 3, even when Peyton Bowen hasn't played a lot, those 3 have played all the snaps. And all of a sudden, Robert Spears Jennings is playing in like the end of the first quarter. Okay. Mm-hmm. We're doing the same thing at corner. We're rotating guys in that we haven't played all year. On offense, you played, which we talked about this, with Andrell Anthony out, who was going to fill it, right? And we had our kind of targeted people. And to your point, I don't care that they moved Farouk to the backfield. I thought it was creative to some degree. What I don't like is that you have LV Bunkley Shelton and Gavin Freeman on the field. Like, that's not who should be filling that spot. And so what it looked like to me from a personnel standpoint, and by the way, Jackson Arnold coming back in the game to run power QB plays again until we get penalties, and then he has to come off the field, right? You are playing that game like a scrimmage. And BV's the one that's been preaching this. We treat every week like that's the game we got to go 1-0. That's the game we got to. And they did the same thing in SMU, just rotating guys everywhere that they hadn't rotated in forever. I'm sorry, you treated it like a scrimmage. Your guys played after the first quarter, played like it was a scrimmage, and you found yourself in a dogfight. Now you got out of it, but like if you want to play your young guys and you truly believe that you're better than the other team, how about this? Play everybody at max level for a quarter, and if you would have in that game, you'd have been 28-0 in the first quarter. Now rotate whoever the crap you want to. But to your point, Jacquez Petaway, we haven't seen him hardly all year, other than Arkansas State. And then they give him 2 plays early, and then all of a sudden, oh crap, we're in a dogfight, and now he doesn't play anymore. And then, by the way, instead we're playing LV Bunkley Shelton and Gavin Freeman. That makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Well, and this isn't us trying to dog on either of them in the sense of I think they're both good teammates and all that, but it's
right.
You can't compare Gavin Freeman to Jacquez Petaway. You can't. That dude cannot move like Jacquez Petaway does. And like I said, in Jacquez Petaway, it's well, he hasn't had some crazy 50-yard run. It's every time he's touched the ball, he's made a play. right? Like every
Yes.
time he's touched the ball, he's even taken plays. Like I would even say the play in the UCF game, I don't remember. I think it was like a 10-yard gain. It's like if LV Buckley Shelton or Gavin Freeman is the one that has that ball in that situation, they're going down and they're getting like 2 or 3 yards.
Yeah.
And Petaway has the mobility to make it 10. Right.
Right.
So yeah, I don't understand. Because and you've also played them in enough games like now you can't redshirt them. You don't want to redshirt them probably anyways because they're too good that they're, you know what I mean? Like you're
Right.
not trying to save a red shirt. So I don't understand that. You know what I mean? Like I can understand if it's like, well, they played in 3 games or whatever, and you want to keep them, whatever. But it's like at
Right.
this point, it's like you're not,
Well, like you can't redshirt Jaden Gibson. And
yeah.
like same thing, like, and then the one time that you actually dial something up for him, he makes an incredible catch on a not great throw, which by the way, have we not just been saying that every time that Jaden Gibson gets thrown the ball, that no matter where it is, he just finds a way to catch the freaking ball? Like the only ball that he has dropped this year is the one where the DB got away with holding his arm down to his side and the referee missed it, right? And doesn't see it, and he's trying to pull it in one-handed, while he's getting pulled backwards. And so why is that guy not on the field? Why is
Well, and
Jacquez Petaway not on the field?
so here's my well, I don't say tinfoil hat, but this is like my theory, I guess. I think the only thing that makes sense to me is that BV has some sort of metric he's using because like we've heard practice and we've heard all, and it's like I don't know. I feel like there's got to be another metric they're using. Like maybe is it grades? Is it going to class? Is it whatever? Right? Some sort of leadership thing or whatever. I don't know. Because that's the only thing that makes any sense. Because like I don't understand. Like you said, with as much as we've heard raves about Hicks, how does he not got time? Now Sawchuk. I mean, I know it was a quarter of football, but it's like in the fourth quarter, he was by far the best running back on the field for OU
Yep.
that day, by far.
Yep.
And again, it's you watch Sawchuk play, and like looking at him compared to Marcus Major, it's like there's no comparison. It's the same thing as like we were saying with LV Buckley Shelton and Gavin Freeman. I don't hate them, but they're not as good as Jacquez Petaway is, and not as athletic or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, it's just confusing. I don't know.
Yeah, to me again, it has felt like in the SMU game, and it has felt like in this game. These are the only two, but it has felt like the staff believes that they are hands down better than these teams. And so this is our opportunity to give meaningful snaps to guys that otherwise wouldn't get meaningful snaps. That's what it feels like. Now, is that what it really is? I have no idea. But again, the personnel choices are just head scratchers. It doesn't make sense what they did there. So that's my biggest gripe on the day. That people are mad about the defense. The defense overall played really well, and this has been talked about today in BV's press conference and everything else. Look, 70 plays, they held them to 2.5 yards or less on
Yeah.
70 of their plays.
Well, that's what I was
5
gonna
of
say
their
is,
plays went for stupid yardage, right? So
yeah, like I mean, and it's one of those things where like even the play that everybody, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I mean, I thought that it should have been a penalty, but whatever. I'm not mad about the whole gesture, the blowing the kiss to the sideline or
yeah,
whatever. But even on that play, it's like literally everything else is covered. It's just that they drew up that weird scheme, and there was 2 linemen that looked like they were pretty close to being
yeah,
downfield. So, again, I'm not trying to chalk that up to anything, but it's one of those things that it's like with a team like UCF and Gus Malzahn, like I said this in the preview, Gus Malzahn's an offensive mind. Like he's a really, really
yes, he
good
is.
offensive mind.
Yeah,
He's going to have things
been
like that are going to trick people that you haven't seen, that you're not going to see on their film. Or you're not going to see on anybody's film. So it is what it is. But like I said, I the defense by far is not the one to blame for this game.
No, absolutely not. So the only other slight negative would just be in the midst of all those personnel choices. Again, I would definitely put more from a specific, impact on the game to the coaches would be Levy's play calling. And it was the same against SMU. What are we doing? Like what what is the goal here? What are we trying to accomplish? And it never felt like there was really any cohesion to the game plan at all within that. Now, getting off all the negatives, let's start going to the positives so we can keep this thing moving. For me, I felt like the defense overall still played really well. There was many guys as they rotated, all those things, and especially the first half. Remember, just going back through the first quarter, all the way down to 50 seconds to go in the first quarter, they gave up 8 yards on 5 drives. They gave up 8 yards. I mean, that's about as elite as you can get. And again, if the offense is cashing in on their end, the whole feel of that game is different. And instead, after 5 drives and 8 yards, the score is 7-0.
Yep.
Like, again, they're getting to go to the sideline going, guys, yes, we're playing terrible, but one drive and this game's tied. And that gives you hope and that gives you all the stuff. It just, so that I thought the defense overall on the day, I mean, even that fourth, granted, again, the mistake was Kanik yelling in the guy's face, right? But again, you're inside the 5 and you do just like you did at Texas. You hold them. They were going to kick a field goal until you make the boneheaded move to yell in his face. So the defense played well. They made mistakes and just some boneheaded deals and some well drawn up plays were the only things they had issues with.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you on that. I mean, I think that, like I said, watching the film, I think they played really, really well. Like I said, I never felt like there was a time where the defensive line ever got to the point of just getting worn out or pushed around or whatever. They played really, really solid. I guess the one knock I would have on the defense, I didn't think there was a couple of guys I didn't think had great games overall. I didn't think Pearson had a great game overall. There was a couple times where he just looked kind of like he was, as a coach used to say, a space cadet. He was just wandering in space, I just don't know. The secondary I don't think have they were the worst of that group. And even then, like you said, they overall played solid.
And really, I mean, to be fair, I don't want to single him out. It was just a bad day for him was Woody Washington. Woody Washington really was the main culprit, if you will,
right.
in a lot of those busts on the day, right? And he's been as solid can be all year, right? So
yeah, I mean, and look, maybe this is the perfect game to knock them out of their golden hat, making t-shirts, smoking cigars thing, right? Like, BB talked about a little bit of the celebration and he didn't like that they celebrate as much as they did. But he wanted to let them enjoy the moment and all that sort of stuff. So maybe this knocks them out of it. But yeah, I mean, the defense played fine. The defense was not it played really, really well. Like you said, it looked like if you just took out that UCF's 3-3, right, and just said, oh, you held the number 5 offense in the country to 8 yards. Like, we would be talking like, oh my God, like we'd all be losing our minds. But because it was UCF, everybody's trying to spin it or, not taking it as much of a positive as it is. It's like, look, this defense is really, really freaking good. And like I said, we'll talk about it in a little bit. Previous defenses, this game would have been it's 70-68 or something stupid. I mean, it would have been disaster. Yeah, it would have been a joke. So I'm more than happy with the defense. And I think that there is a good amount of things to talk about with them, but I also think that you're gonna have to start looking at like you said, the improvement. Like I said, the punting was better. I want to see that continue to be good.
That was a great positive on the day. 51.5 yards a kick is great.
The frustrating thing is, like, when you look at the field, like our field position in the first quarter was absolutely insane.
It was
like insane. honestly, the first quarter it should have been 28-0. It should have been 21-0.
That's what I said. Yeah.
And the play calling kills you. The play calling, like you said, we're off the negatives, but anyway, punting did you wonders. Pinned them deep. they had to punt out of their end zone, I think twice. Their punting was terrible. But still you
Yeah.
had really good field position. So that part of special teams is good. And then I guess the other thing is like it feels like this is one of those games where like every positive has a negative tied to it. When you had a certain personnel group at offensive line, you absolutely dominated UCF. You should, right? But like I'm talking about, like there was plays where, like in the fourth quarter, when you had a certain, like I don't remember exactly who all it was. It was like Rain, Green, Bird. I can't remember. Anyway, they absolutely just dominated. It was the same thing we talked about when Caden Green came into the Texas game and they looked different. It was the same thing. Like it looked like it was a night and day difference thing.
Well, yeah, but to be fair and to make sure I'm with you, but I thought the O-line was playing fine early. Schaefer got rolled up on, I believe it was the second quarter. And he was never the same after that. And to be honest, when Savion was playing early, he didn't look good. But he found himself in the second half when they finally went, okay,
Well,
Schaefer's not healthy. Put him in there and let him go. He went to work.
well, and I think this is where my negative tied to it is. I think at some point you have to decide who is your highest ceiling guy and let him get that momentum and let him get that confidence. Because if you pull somebody every time they make a mistake, you're never going to have anybody that's going to be elite, right?
Yeah.
And like we've said at this point, and you know what? Here's a positive. Rames played better. He's still not great, but he's a lot better than he was. He was a lot better than he was. Now that's not saying a whole lot, but it's like at the same time, it's like when I'm looking at Rame in the early parts of the season, why didn't Rame get benched? There's time that Rame looked completely lost, looked like he didn't care, but he's still out there because he's the quarterback of your offensive line, I guess. But you know what I mean? Like, I feel like he made more egregious mistakes and egregious lacks of effort or whatever,
right,
than a lot of the other guys that got pulled for minor stuff, right? Like, I don't know. It's that whole thing is a little weird to me. So I don't know how to. I don't know. I think that's one area of depth that we're concerned about. But yeah, I mean, but at the same time, like I said, the fourth quarter, the offensive line played really, really well. And I just want them to see if they can establish. Like that's the thing is like really when you think about it, Levy's play calling is something we're gonna have to keep talking about. And we talked about this in person where we were like, Levy has these games where he calls a phenomenal game, right?
Yeah.
Texas was one of those games, right? Or whatever. But you look at SMU, laid an egg, right? Like, and UCF, I would say he laid an egg too. It's like you never know when it's just like he's just gonna totally just not call a good game. Like he's just not gonna do a good job.
Well,
it's a roll of the dice.
He's still got a little bit of, and I'm sorry, he's got a little bit of Muleshoe in there, right? Because when Muleshoe was here, he'd get impatient. That's one of the reasons that Iowa State gave him such fits, because they'd play that huge cloud cover 3 coverage, right? With dropping 8 guys and rushing 3. He could not handle, we are not having big plays. And it's like, dude, give the ball to your playmakers on a 5-yard hitch and call it good. Hit the intermediate and call it good. And guess what? Eventually, they're going to start creeping up and you're going to get a big play. Or you have good enough athletes, they're going to break a tackle and they're going to take one to the house. Like, you just have to be there. And it's like he gets enamored with just pounding, run, play action, go deep. And it's like, hit the intermediates. It's there for you to hit.
So, well, here's the other thing. Here's my like sunshine take.
We need it. We're supposed to be positive right now. Okay. You're being more dark than I am.
If they can establish a good starting offensive line, like they have established starters at every position along the offensive line. And they establish a running back that is your bell cow. I think that his play calling could get better, more consistent, I should say.
Sure. Sure.
I do think that is something that he's having to struggle with, because I do think when you really look at Levy and that branch of play calling and offensive philosophy comes from, those are things that you rely on a bunch, is good offensive line play, but also a running back that you can rely on that can not only run the ball but catch the ball out of the backfield. And right now, OU doesn't have that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and I'd say
Marcus Major is not a threat as a receiver.
well, I disagree with that, but I do think one of the biggest positives coming out of the game was that I did feel like Sawchuk found himself again a little bit in that fourth quarter. There was one run in particular, I don't remember exactly when in the fourth, but the hole that he went through to make the play that he did was so small. It was a sliver of space, but he could see the way the blocks were set up and knew that was the place to be and the place to go. And he did. And it broke open for like an 8 or 9 yard run. And it was like, okay, he ran. And when he went through that hole, and BV said this today, our running backs have to be better, to your point with Marcus, running through the trash. You've got to get through the trash to get to the second level and get going. And I felt like that Sawchuk did that really well in that fourth quarter. And so I'm hoping that's a confidence builder for him. I'm hoping that the Florida State Cheez-It Bowl Gavin Sawchuk that we saw is back. And again, we know he hasn't been playing a lot because of that hamstring. We know that. And so hopefully this game gave him mentally that confidence that I'm good, I'm healthy, and I can explode. I can drive. I can use my legs, and it's not gonna ruin anything. Hopefully the offensive line's coming together a little bit, but those were definitely positives in the fourth quarter for sure for this team. Was them. And again, the other like kind of layer of positivity was, look, every time this team is needed to answer to win a game, they've done it this year. In fourth quarters, when they have to score or when they have to get a stop, they've done it so far this year.
Well,
right?
It's the opposite tail of last year, right?
Yes.
Where you lost by a play or a touchdown or a field goal or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, if you look at the margin of victory last year, it's so small, like, or in your defeats, your margin of defeat, I guess, is so small that it's like you couldn't make it, and now it's the opposite. So yeah, I mean, it's 100% a different feel. Like I said, they would have lost this game last year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Now, this team needs to be better than what they were, but they've done that. So, last question on Central Florida, and then let's move to Kansas. How are you feeling as far as all in all on this team? The same, a little better, or a little worse about this team moving forward?
I'm going to give you kind of a loaded answer. I think I feel the same. I just think that we need to come down off the high of the Texas win, right? That was kind of the arrival point of after last season, after the Riley stuff and everything that went down the last 2 years. I think OU fans were just downtrodden and we're just nothing good's going to come to us, or whatever. And so when Texas happened, I think everybody was on a really big high. So I think we came down a little bit, but at the same time, it's like when I look at this team overall, I think they still have, like, right now, it's like they're still in the driver's seat in the Big 12. They're still in the driver's seat for a college football playoff, really. I mean, sure. So I think I feel the same. Yeah.
I mean, I have to say from the start of the year till now, I feel better. I mean, I picked this team to be 9-3, and I was very confident that they would lose 3 games. I think right now the floor is 2 losses. So I have to say that I feel better than I did at the start of the year, for sure. So Saturday was not great, but again, you play that ugly and still pull a win. You're a pretty good football team overall when you can do it right that way. When you can win ugly, that says a lot about you. So moving off to Central Florida, let's talk about Kansas a little bit. Here's kind of my overall takes, and then Jared, I'll leave it to you. But I feel like this is almost the same game again. Lots of misdirection, lots of option game, lots of window dressing. Okay, but more capable in the passing game. I think Bean is more capable of a thrower than Plumlee was. I think that he's in the same realm as runner as Plumlee is. and a bad defense again. I mean, it's almost a carbon copy of what you played last week. The difference, I think, overall is this that scares me. Kansas has a much more established culture. Leipold's been there long enough now. He has ingrained his culture into that program. They are not scared of anybody. They're going to play hard. They're going to play smart. They're just not extremely talented on defense, and that's why their defense is not very good. But this team ain't scared of OU. I mean, this is a team that should have beat OU with Caleb Williams at the helm, making a run right in the season, and Superman went and made a play to pull it out, right? So that's kind of how I feel about it overall in the game. So Jared, what are you looking for in this game, and what do you think's kind of the key for this game?
I mean, I think it comes down. I mean, I know this is gonna sound like a broken record. It's gonna come down to defense. I think tightening things up. The good news is like coming off UCF, you should have a little bit more. One, now BV should be able to have the motivation to go to these guys and look like you were playing elite. You just gave up some big plays. Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
So I hope that they sure those things up. Like I said, really, I think that's a really a big component of this game. Because, like I said, this was the worst this team overall has played this season, in my opinion. Maybe SMU you could argue, but like I said, SMU didn't only put up 11 points. So, like I said, I think that there's a little bit of a wake-up call. So I think that the defense needs to come out and make a statement, especially because right now everybody's all of a sudden turned to, well, is OU actually that good?
Yeah.
I know that BV said they try to ignore that outside noise and all that. But the reality is it's like you want to make a statement. Like these guys need to be alpha males, and they need to go out and want to make a statement and say, we are the best in this conference, and we still run it. And I'd love to see that be in this game. So yeah, I think it's going to be defense. And then obviously just the other side of the ball is just Levy call a good game. I think you shouldn't have to do anything cute, right? That's what confused me against UCF was that we kept trying to do these cute, weird things. Like you said, the direct snap as the second play of the game to running back who hasn't played really. Just call a good game. Just do what you want to do. You should be able to impose your will and do what you want to do. So I think it's just going to come down to Levy making a solid called game for this to really for them to really dominate. And I think they could have a big win if they do those two things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm with you on that. Again, BV and staff, y'all need to sit down this week, and whoever you determine are your best players, play them. And when you get up big, then you can jack around and mess around with guys that haven't played all year long, that you haven't been willing to put out there all year, and see how they react in that environment at that point, right?
Can we just
get up? Oh, go ahead.
No, just go ahead. Go finish. I just want to say something.
Get up 21-0. And yes, in the first half, still play them, but get up 21-0 first. Don't communicate to your guys every game matters, but hey, we're going to put our third string in the first quarter because this game matters. Because you just communicated to your team, we got this game in the back. I mean, that's what you're communicating to that team. Like we've all played, if you've played sports and you're a third stringer, you don't play unless you're playing a crap team and you're up big points. So when all of a sudden they're rotating you in and the score is 0-0 or 7-0, you've just communicated to your team, we're that much better than these guys. I'm actually going to let you play today. You can't do that this week. You got to keep the edge on these guys and let them go. And then on offense, play calling Levy. And hopefully the fourth quarter was an indication that the run game's coming, that it's finally here. And this is a defense you should find running room, period. You should be able to run the ball effectively, and it's time for it to happen. I am not by any stretch still in la land that we're just going to find an incredible running game, but against this defense, you should. Against this defense, you should. And so I need to see that. We do that. Game looks good. We get through it.
Can I get just to go back just real quick to the defense? it is crazy to think that like Gentry, Kobe, and Kip, like they're all capable. Like if
Yeah.
somebody went like Kip, really honestly, like I was on that train day one. I was like,
Yeah.
Kip's my dude. And Kip,
You
honestly,
were.
I think out of those three might be the best out of that group right now. But it's just one of those things that it's like, again, how many years have we been on like, especially on the defensive side of the ball, we're like, oh man, if that person goes down, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it's like you really, I mean, not to say you don't have that maybe in a couple of positions where you're a little bit still thin and trying to fill things in, but across the board overall, pretty good depth, pretty good depth. So I just
Yeah.
like that. I just want to
No.
highlight that. I mean, I think that's really good.
No, absolutely. This game will be a test, man. Do not fans, players that are listening, Kobe, we know you listen to the podcast still all the time, and Gentry, you guys, they really don't, but it's, it's all good. But like,
Well, and
don't let,
I'm not dogging on Kobe or anybody. Kobe's been phenomenal.
yes,
Gentry has been phenomenal. Gentry, I mean, Gentry's got like I don't have most of the INTs on the team, I think.
yes, he's leading the
Um,
team. Yeah.
so I guess I'm tooting my horn because I picked Kip. All you guys are being phenomenal. The class, like the last two or three classes that have come in, especially,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
dude, just so much potential, such a high ceiling that we haven't seen on
Feeling
defense in uh, 10
a
years.
decade. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was about to say at least a decade. Yeah, it's been incredible. Look, if OU keeps their edge, if OU keeps chasing greatness, they'll win this game on Saturday. If they go up there jacking around and trying to tinker with play calling and trying to tinker with this or tinker with that, or they go in with a mentality that this is Kansas and we're fine, they are screwed because Leipold will put it on them.
Well,
He is not coming to just screw, just to mess around
here's
and just hopefully get a win.
here's the thing too, and I think this is like something that people have to realize as a competitor. Like we obviously have like college football, but we both played high school football. We played sports and all that. When a team just comes out and is able to do something vanilla, like when they're just coming out, and they're just running the ball down your throat. That is so much more demoralizing than, oh, well, they did this
Yes.
crazy package. I didn't know what was going on. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like if Levy will just come out and in both sides of the ball just comes out and does what they do, nothing creative. I mean, nothing. I should say nothing exotic, right? Nothing like, oh, we're gonna do this crazy double pass,
Yeah.
4-time reverse, whatever. Just do what you do. Just go and impose your will, and that is the most demoralizing thing any competitor can have is where you just can't stop it. They're doing
Right.
nothing special, and we can't stop it. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. So look forward to it. It should be good. I know that's not a lot of detail, but look, y'all know this team. We've been around Kansas enough the last couple years. Bean's a capable quarterback, and that's really the key. If the offense executes like it should, this defense doesn't have anybody over there that you need to be concerned about. The offense has a really good running back, and they've got Bean, right? And
Yeah.
you contain that, you should be in really good shape. So let's talk some general college football now. And let's start with the good stuff, shall we? Because yeah, we both picked Utah to cover/win against USC without Cam Rising, without their starting running back, with their strong safety playing running back, and a pig farmer playing quarterback for them.
Dude.
And they
Whittingham,
pull out.
Whittingham is my second favorite coach right now, dude. I love that guy. Oh my god.
And the collapse has begun. So like, look, there's so much to talk about. Okay, first of all, I'll ask as a question so you can get in here without me going on a rant. Is it just me or does it appear that Muleshoe is completely collapsing? Because by the way, they lose this game. He sends no players to the press conference. He's the only one there. By the way, he seemed fine. And 48 hours later is so sick he can't show up to his radio show. That sounds familiar, right? Doesn't show up to practice, isn't talking to anybody, isn't answering anything. I mean, like, what? Like, who doesn't bring their Heisman Trophy winning quarterback out to a press conference after a loss against a top 13 ranked team in the country that you lost a super close game to.
What
but,
message does that send about your culture?
Yeah.
Like I want you to stand up here and we'll sing your praises when you win, but when you lose a game like that, it's okay. You can go sit in the locker room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was comic. The other comical thing was the Utah locker room blasting music so loud you could hear it on the press conference.
And it's at their home stadium.
Yeah.
It's at their home stadium. Like,
yeah.
This isn't they're at Utah and Utah's going to put their press conference deal right out. You know what I mean? Like Notre Dame kind of did, right? Like Notre Dame like stuck them in a corner and said, this is where you do your press con. This is at your own place, and you can't even escape the party scene of the Utah locker room.
Well, here's my thing. The other thing is I watched the press conference, and one, like, yeah, the whole players not being there, I'm like, that speaks volumes to me about the culture that Lincoln Riley builds. And then secondly, it was like the word salad he kept trying to spit to like walk around like, oh, well, like, you know, it's not that bad. And like, you know, like, I mean, it was just like, I don't even know, like the things he was saying. I'm like, dude, you're just talking in circles. You know what I mean? Like you're just literally talking in circles, not saying anything at all and trying to give a long-winded answer. So at the end of it, everybody's so exhausted, they don't question it. Like
he thinks he's Sam Presti when he's not even as good of a wordsmith as Sam, because that's Sam's deal, right? I'm going to talk for 2 minutes and then you're going to think about it and go, he didn't tell us anything. But like, he's not even that good at it.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, like the whole press conference, the whole thing. And like I said, I told you before the pod, one of my buddies, he actually has a podcast too. He messaged me and was like, dude, what are you thinking? Or he actually tweeted at me and was like, what do you think of this? And I'm like, dude, it's the exact same thing we saw from him when he was at OU, like eerily same, almost the same dates. Like,
yeah,
it's the same point in the season when things started to go sideways for OU. It's the same point in the season where now that it's been proven that he was looking at houses in LA or signing contracts or whatever. Like there is, it's like a game plan for him. Like it's the exact same script. We've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess my question to you is, what do you think is going to happen at like? Well, let me ask you this first. Where do you think he's going to go? Do you think he's leaving for one? And if you do think he is leaving, where do you think he goes?
The only way at this point, because of how he's handled this. Now, look, if you'd asked me a week ago, and if he had handled the situation like a professional and like an actual head coach, I think there's a chance he's going to the NFL, right? Now, the only way he's in the NFL is if he's an offensive coordinator only, period. There is not, unless it's the Browns, there is not an organization that's going to hire him as the head coach of $1 billion organization when he will not let his players be interviewed after losses, that he suspends members of the media for writing puff pieces, that he, by the way, also said, I don't know where this narrative of us talking about national championships comes from, when he's the one at his opening press conference of a 4-8 football team said this will be the mecca of college football, and preseason said we're going to win a championship and that's what we're here to do. You started that narrative, Lincoln Riley. No one else did. He's also told the media that it was them that set the narrative up that the defense is not any good. It's not that the defense isn't any good. The media made that decision beforehand. So he's not going anywhere. His contract's big enough they can't buy him out of it. And there's not a program that's going to hire him, or an organization in the NFL that's going to hire him as the head coach. It's not going to happen.
And here's my thing. And I've seen people trying to dog on Caleb, and I do think Caleb's season has not been, the last 2 games have been pretty horrid for him. 3 games really
been real bad.
Pretty horrid. But I'm still going to stand by it. I still cheer for Caleb, and I still think he is the best player. He's the best quarterback in college football right now. He's the best quarterback prospect in I don't know how long.
I'm at this point, I don't think he is the best quarterback prospect for the NFL. He is the most talented, but he ain't the best prospect right now.
Well,
with what he's done the last 3 weeks, He is not playing quarterback. He is literally playing flag football and just has the pocket awareness and the athletic ability to run around for 45 seconds until somebody gets open, and then he just chunks it to him.
I mean,
name me a time in the last 3 weeks that you've seen him take a snap, put his foot in the ground, and zip a ball on a route to somebody.
Well, and here's the thing. Here's the it's not just Caleb. They're offensively, they have talent everywhere. It's just like it was at OU, even though Riley says I didn't have the talent at OU to win a national championship or whatever it was he said. They are an embarrassment of riches
at the skill position.
At the skill position,
that offensive line got whooped all night long. But D line got whooped all night long.
Here's where this is where it's a whole this is where you can't circle one thing with this team, with that program and with his culture. You also have yes, Grinch I don't think is a great defensive coordinator, right? But Agreed. You also look at Wiley, and it's why do you have your biggest offensive lineman is 270 pounds? You know what I mean? Yeah, you're not going to. They look and somebody highlighted it, and it's yeah, I didn't really think about it in this terms, but when you watch USC play, it looks like a group of 5 school. As far as in the trenches, they're not big. Outside of Bear Alexander, they don't look.
Here's the deal. It's not just that they're not big, they're not strong. And as now, all the USC media people, this team's just soft. That's what we said when he left. He creates a culture of softness between Benny Wiley and his practice habits. And that's one of the reasons he defends Grinch so much, in my opinion, is talking to players. They don't tackle to the ground in practice because Riley is too afraid that his little toys are going to get hurt, and poor little babies can't get hurt. Poor little babies get hurt. I can't put them on the field on Saturday and use them. Well, guess what? You wonder why there's a tackling issue? Well, when you never tackle to the ground, that's exactly what happens.
Here's a scenario. Here's a comparison. I want you to think of this. Mac Brown, his last couple of years at Texas. You remember when I think it was OU Texas, OU went and beat them 65-14 or whatever it was, right? Just absolutely ran them out of the stadium. Post-game press conference, at least Mac had the testicular fortitude to make his players go sit in front of the cameras.
But then answered for them.
And then answered for them, right? But at least he made them go up there and get the questions aimed at them. Riley doesn't even have that. Riley is so coddling and so I'm sorry. That's the thing that I think people I understand going and taking going and having the back of your players, right? That's another thing. That's another discussion to have, right?
Yep.
But part of sports is that you have to go up there and you have to own, I got whooped. I got my butt kicked. I didn't play good. I let my teammates down, whatever. Right? That's how you instill leadership. That's how you build a culture of saying, this is where, even if you played well, let's say Caleb played lights out and they still lost.
Right. I mean, look, the point is you got to put those guys in the press conference. Just period. It doesn't matter how you play or not.
That's what I'm saying, though. You still have to line up. Caleb should still be at the press conference. And if Caleb's a leader that I think that he actually still is, then he's going to say, look, we lost. It sucks. It was, I should have played better.
Yeah.
Right. He's not instilling that. So anyways, it's just a dumpster fire. I think that he's potentially going to go be an OC or maybe a head coach. Maybe I could see the Bears taking a flyer on him or something if their season goes sideways. But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I did before this week. I think the way he handled this week showed me 2 things that I didn't think beforehand. He is not ready to be a head coach at the Power 5 level, and especially not a blue blood. He can't handle it. He can't handle having to play elite talent. And guess what? When you play elite talent and you get beat, you got to own up to it. And he doesn't know how to do it. He does not know how to do it. He is not ready to be a head coach at all at the Power 5 level. And he proved it. That's why he's not going to the NFL.
Well, he's on that Russell Westbrook arc.
Yeah.
So if anybody hasn't seen, go check out. I'm referencing the Coach 30 video.
Yes.
one of the funniest I've seen. Maybe it's because I'm, invested in it or whatever. But yeah, he says you left Oklahoma and came to LA to have the same team and you got worse. You're on the Russell Westbrook arc. That cracked me up. So, anyways, yeah, it's just a dumpster fire. You hate to see it, but more than that, you love to see it. So
yeah,
anyway,
it's crazy.
Which
And the last thing I'll just say is this very quickly. LA media people, the next time I'm just gonna lose it if I hear one more time the stupid in this market, we're not gonna put up with you doing that. We told you we weren't putting up with it. We told you we hated it. And y'all laughed us out and said we were just being a bunch of crybabies and mad that Lincoln left. When we told you the problems with the culture, you said we were being crybabies that he left. Now it's all happening, and you're acting like we weren't criticizing any of these. Us poor little unsophisticated poor country bumpkins out here in Oklahoma just let Lincoln do whatever he wanted to do. And that is not true. It's the things that we were questioning that drove him to leave this place. That is part of what caused him to leave, is that he couldn't get over the hump and he was being criticized. It
just still cracks up because I still hear that all the time. And I'm like, right now, Lincoln Riley's having to do, if he's in his office, he's doing it from a freaking cubicle looking thing with a dorm fridge, where he left the poor school that had an office that's bigger than most people's houses. So go off, I guess, whatever.
Yeah.
But here's another thing, talking about money. This just came out, apparently. There's rumors that Vegas is going to be pulling all of the Michigan bets, all the betting lines on Michigan until the investigation wraps.
Wow.
Which, not looking good for Michigan. I don't know if have you kept up with any of it?
Yeah, I've kept up, and I don't know what's going to happen.
People have zoomed in, like he's the guy that's supposedly the dude that they suspended and all that stuff. His play card has like hand signals on it. And like, the thing is like, I've seen people argue, well, like he's just scouting. And it's like, okay, like there's a difference between scouting and going and filming nothing but the people using hand signals and all that. I mean, the level.
I mean, look, it's an egregious effort to cheat. That's what I would say, right? Everyone tries to steal signals. Period. I mean, like that was the hero move of Baker Mayfield. Remember in the first week with Tampa Bay was that he told the team, I got their signals. I figured out what they're doing, right? And it helped him through the game. But like the links to which that they did this and the blatant breaking of rules that are rules, whether they matter or not, is there. And you can't be sending GAs all over the place to just video hand signals and then, doing the thing. Like, it's a little overkill. At the same time, coaches, be better. Change your signals.
Well, yeah, there's that. And like the funny thing to me is like, I think it's one thing if I think it's kind of like the analogy that I had was, it's not illegal for me to drive a car. Right. But if I drove over to somebody else's house, or I sent somebody over out to another house to steal their car and bring it to me, and then I drive it, then that's illegal. Right. Like that's the Michigan fans are trying to come up with this thing. Well, it's not illegal to steal signals. No, it's not. Like if you're standing on the sideline during your game and you figure out that them doing the jumping jacks means that they're blitzing, that's one thing. Right. Sending people that literally are doing nothing but holding a camera on the people going the signals, like that's going too far. And I do think the conversation now needs to be around, should they do like the NFL or even high schools are doing it now, of having a headset in the helmet that they can have. Basically, they can be in the helmet up to like, the first 10 seconds or whatever of the play clock or whatever.
They need to do that. I mean, it's time. That's the NFL's been doing that for a decade. Do it at college, like move on from it. But still, it is egregious by Michigan. It's sad. It's pretty pathetic, and it's pretty clear.
The publicity. I can't say that word for some reason. The publicity from this is going to, especially now that, like I said, if Vegas really does pull sports betting on Michigan, I know that sounds crazy. Like those sorts of things start happening, and the NCAA is going to get forced to actually have to do something to Michigan. Like, Like right now, it's like, and people forget they're still under investigation, which they're for like level whatever violations, minor violations. They just got off the Harbaugh being suspended. There's all this. Like
Yeah.
I told somebody, I was like, I actually wouldn't be surprised if they start really digging in and the NCAA doesn't try to do like the loss of institutional control or whatever it is, like where basically things have run rampant.
Yeah.
It's just Michigan, and it's funny because Michigan was the school that's like, well, we always are doing the right thing. We're always
I know, right?
and
Yeah.
yeah. So, anyways, but
It's crazy.
anyway,
Well,
I just
hey,
thought it was a wild
I've
story.
got a
So.
dog going nuts here. Well, I'm gonna have my earphone where I can still hear you, but I'm gonna close my camera for a second. Will you go over how terrible I did at my picks last week real quick and move us there, and I
Yes.
will be
Yeah.
right
Oh,
back.
gladly. Yeah. So, now that it's nothing but handsomeness here now for you all. Yeah, so we did our picks last week. Our starting up, we did Air Force versus Navy. Now I picked Air Force to cover, which they were favored by 10. They ended up winning by 11. So Daryl picked Navy because he's an idiot. So Daryl lost that one. Now neither of us looked good on the next one. That was Penn State versus Ohio State. We both picked Penn State. Obviously, that didn't go our way. And then we had Tennessee at Bama. Bama was favored by 9.5. They covered more than enough. Which was actually a really good game, by the way. Like that one was one where I think they were down like 10 or 17 or something crazy points at halftime and then just ended up freight training them at the end. But yeah, anyways, we both won that one. Duke at FSU. FSU was favored by 13.5. They won by, I believe, 18. And we both picked FSU. So Daryl, he had to follow my lead to get anything right. So Utah at USC. We had both took Utah. And God, did it feel good that we both won? I was even cheering for you on that one, buddy. I was cheering for that one for you, little brother.
So worth it.
UCF at OU. We both took OU to cover, and well, they did. 19 points was a far cry, so we both lost it. But that means I'm pretty sure overall, even I'm leading now. I'm pretty sure I'm leading.
That gives you the 1 game lead. We were tied, and now it gives you the 1 game lead.
Hey, it was the same thing I said after the UCF win. Winning is winning, baby. All right,
that's
winning
right.
is winning. So
it is.
That's Dominic Toretto said it best. Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning is winning. So, but I guess I'll get us rolling on our next picks. So this week's picks will go number 1. Which, by the way, funny thing, my ESPN was jacked. I was like seriously gonna start Googling because I thought like all of Georgia, like Georgia's whole offensive line had fallen off a bus or something. Because it was showing to me that Florida was favored against Georgia. And I was like, what?
Right.
I mean, it's at the swamp, but come on now. By 14.5 points at that. But anyways, Georgia is favored by 14.5 points at Florida. So they're going to be playing at the swamp. You know, I'm sure tickets are going to be crazy expensive, even though Florida's not good. But it'd be like, that would be a fun game to go to.
Oh, yeah. You should. If you get to that game, go hit that game up. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I can't this weekend, but I would like. I do want to go to a game at the swamp. Hopefully OU and Florida play. But anyways, Georgia favored by 14.5. Who you taking?
I'm going to take Florida to cover.
Okay.
No tight ends at the swamp, and Georgia just seems to be sleepwalking. And offense not great, defense is pretty good. So I'm going to take them to, again, not Florida to win, but for Florida to cover.
This is a rivalry game. You know, people forget about that. I think this is one of those like kind of people down here know and all that, but it is a rivalry game. But I'm gonna go Georgia. I think Georgia's I do think Brock Bowers being out is gonna be detrimental, but I just don't think Florida's that good this year. I think Florida's played out of their minds at times to beat who they beat, but I don't think they're that good. So
fair enough.
Next one up, Oregon at Utah. Now this is a huge game. Big Pac-12 implications. Two really good teams. By the way, I think they said Cam Rising is going to be out the rest of the year. Like he's not playing.
Yes, they have. That's official.
So, but they got the pig farmer. That, by the way, quote of the week. Quote of the week is they've got a Heisman winner at quarterback. and we've got a pig farmer, and we like him too.
Yes.
Like, quote
Yeah.
of the week.
That's
Whittingham,
awesome.
I love the guy. Anyway, Oregon is favored by 6.5, so they're basically favored by a tutty. Who are you taking? It's at Utah. I don't know if that changes your perspective.
It is at Utah, which makes me think about it a lot. And I just love Whittingham's culture. But again, I think beating USC yet again on the road in that way, emotional letdown. I think Oregon's pretty good and fighting for their lives. I'm going to take Oregon to cover.
Oregon to cover. Okay. Against my worst judgment, I'm going to take Utah. I mean, I'm going to buy in. The
All right.
Utah, the Utes / Sooner bromance that's going on. I just got to support. I got to support the boys. How quickly did Utah become like my second favorite school? You know.
I think so true.
Okay, next we got Duke at Louisville. How do you say it? How are you gonna say it? Because this is I've had this conversation before. Louisville. I say Louisville.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what's funny is I know people that live in Louisville or whatever, and like they all say it different. So it's a made up name. It's whatever.
Yeah, the most consistent pronunciation I heard was Louisville. So that's what I go with now.
Well, I'm going Louisville. I'm gonna take I'm gonna take Duke. I'm actually gonna take Duke. I think Duke, they played really well against FSU for about 3/4. So I'm gonna take Duke.
All right.
I'm basically doing this so like we have some separation next week in our score too. So next up is a favorite for us, USC at Cal. USC is favored by 11 points with a Heisman quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, Cal is not great. You are at Cal. It is a rivalry game, but the wheels are coming off, baby. I'm going Cal. Cal's going to pull the amazing upset, and the Empire comes crashing
Can we just
down.
Can we just say like how important this game is? Like if they go out I'm going to take USC. No, actually, hang on.
Oh my
I'm going to go
gosh.
Cal. I'll go Cal. I will go Cal to cover. But think about it this way. This is one of those games. This is a trap game in the sense I don't think Cal's any good. But it's a trap game in the sense
that they've got Oregon and Washington coming up.
Well, not just that. Right now, USC has everything to lose, and Cal has nothing to lose. Right? Like, if USC does anything but come out and if they do anything other than come out and blow out Cal, everybody's gonna be like, man, things are really, really bad. Like the locker room could start to get lost, is what I'm saying. If they don't come out and dominate Cal. So next up, we got the Mormons, BYU at Texas.
Yes.
They're playing at the state. This is weird. The Mormons are going to be playing at a stadium that has what looks like female reproductive organs and it stands. So I don't know. Anyway, yeah, BYU at Texas. Texas favored by 17.5 points. By the way, Texas, we didn't even talk about Texas had to get the spot of the century in favor of them to beat Houston. Houston honestly probably should have won that game.
Probably so.
So
now, granted, anyway. Quinn Ewers hurt, right? They're going to have to play without Quinn. So
Malik Jeffries is the starter. Murphy, sorry, I don't work with Jeffries. Malik Murphy is the starter, which everybody's like saying that Arch Manning is going to play, but I was like, they've already said Malik's starting. So anyway,
he might play. We'll see. Man, I just don't think BYU is any good. If they were playing in Provo, I think I would pick BYU to cover, but not in Austin. I'm going to go ahead and take the Horns to cover.
Man, look, Texas's defense really did not look good against Houston. They really didn't. I didn't see the whole game, but the third and fourth quarter, they looked pretty bad. Pretty bad. We saw a lot more flashes of that Texas defense of like when CD had 5 dudes around him and they couldn't bring him to the ground. Couldn't hardly touch him, but you know what I mean? So I'm gonna take BYU to cover.
All right.
I don't know
I
that they
like it.
win, but I think they're going to make it a tight game.
Yes. I mean, I could see that. I don't think so in Austin, but I could see that.
Yeah, it's at BYU. That's what scares me. We have to play at BYU this year, and like weird things happen. They have some like Mormon like voodoo magic or something there.
It's very true.
OU at Kansas is our last one, our game of the week, and we'll also do score predictions. But OU is right now favored by 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
So closer line, it's really weird. Like when you think about it, like I still was like, even 3 or 4 years ago, nobody's scared of Kansas. You know,
No.
like the fact that like watch out. Like if Leopold stays at Kansas could be a threat. I mean, honestly. So, anyways,
Yeah.
Kansas.
Agreed.
OU at Kansas. OU favored by 10. Who you taking?
I am going to take the good guys. I'm going to take OU. I'm going to take them at 35-25 OU. But I believe that OU is going to be up 17 late in the game with it in control. But Leipold and his boys just aren't giving up. They score late to make it a straight up even 10 cover.
So you're calling a push. Calling a push.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna take the good guys, but I'm gonna take the good guys to cover. I think they win by 24. I'm gonna go. They're gonna win 49. What would be 24? 49 to 25.
Wow. All right. I like it. I hope that's the way
They
it
both got
goes.
25, which is a weird score to make. So I don't know what we're thinking, but yeah, we'll go with it.
We'll go.
Yeah. So dude, I'm excited for this weekend. I don't know. Like the thing is like at this point, it's all profit. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we've won more games than we did last season. We talked about, what's funny is like we were talking about, like, if you really think about when we go back and talk about our everything at this point, like that's what somebody said. If you really think about it, and I want to take this before we roll into Thunder, regardless of how the remaining games go, BV has now gone, at least in recruiting and all those sorts of areas, can say he's built a culture.
Yep.
He can say that he's showed marked improvement. He's showed that he can develop. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't get me wrong. I want them to go fight for a spot in the college football playoff. Even how realistic or unrealistic that is, I don't know yet.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like at this point, like he's done everything that we said that he needed to do before the season started.
Correct. Yeah,
So.
absolutely. He's turned it around. He absolutely has turned it around. Another organization that has turned it around quickly is the Thunder, right? From losing all of its superstars to now getting big time playoff consideration. They kick their season off tomorrow. And so just a couple quick questions as we wrap this pod up tonight, but we do have to talk about it because it is definitely Oklahoma sport. Jared, I'm curious, win total for the Thunder this year, where do you put them at out of 82 games?
I'm gonna go. You know what? I went Mega Sunshine with the Sooners and their defense, and so far that's pretty much paid dividends. Like I'm pretty much dead on with that so far. So I'm gonna go 52. I think they're gonna win 52 games.
Wow, that's incredible. I like it. I mean, I would love it. For me, Troy and I actually talked about this a little bit at lunch today. I'm going to put them at 45 wins, personally. I'm going to put them at 45 wins. So just over 500. Definitely should get them in the playoffs, move them that way. And then my other question as the season kind of kicks off is we make the play-in, win a play-in game, go to the next one, lose, don't make it to the playoffs. What is a successful season this year in your eyes for the Thunder?
Playoff game. I think they need to be. Not only do they need to be in the playoff, I think they need to be high enough seeded that they're not in the play-in. Like I think they need to be
like automatically in a playoff series.
Yes.
Oh, play-in. I got you.
I guess that's kind of
That
like
makes sense.
my sort of a ceiling. Well, I say ceiling, but I just want to see them be in a position where they're a young team that's already established that they're a playoff contender and not
Yeah.
having to do a plan.
Yeah, I'm not even to that yet because I think there's some teams last year that fell off that I think will be better. Like, for instance, the Mavericks, I think they'll be better this year and some of those kinds of teams. And so for me, though, it is similar. But if they had to go through the play-in system, I'm okay with that. But they got to get to a playoff series. They don't have to win it, but they got to get to a playoff series this year for me. If they don't get to a playoff series, then it's a complete, not a disaster, but it would be very deflating. And it would definitely be below the bar that I have for this team with the pieces they have, those kinds of things. I do think they need to be in a playoff series without a doubt, however they get there now. And then the last question for the Thunder as we kick it off and see how to go. Do you have a player on the roster that has been named to the final 15-man roster that would be your surprise player? So just to kind of be clear, I think our starting five, I think we're all very clear that that's going to be Giddey at the point, Shea, Dort, J-Dub, Chet, right? That's your five. None of those guys is going to be a surprise to me. If Micic plays well, a guy that's been a professional for like 10 years in Europe, if he plays well, I don't think that's a surprise player for the Thunder, right? So who is going to be a player that surprises as they try to make this
I
run
was
to
going to say
52
Giddey.
wins?
I was going to say Giddey, not because I don't think that I think he's going to be able to, his game's going to elevate is what I would say to a level that people are not expecting. Him and Chet have a huge amount of chemistry. They've talked about that all the time. So I think he's one. But yeah, man, outside of that, if I'm having to pick somebody that's coming like a sixth man is basically what you're asking me almost. Like,
I mean, just an off the radar guy that's really going to be a fixtured piece for this team.
Man, I don't know. Give me yours. Give me yours.
I am going with one that I think everybody, I don't know if people would say it this way, but how about this? Bertans will not be traded at the deadline because he is such an integral piece to this team. So Demons Bertan will play a lot and will light it up and will score a ton and be a very, very fixed piece of this team for me. Whereas most people see him as a guy they're going to play some and then just try to ditch at the trade deadline. And I think he's a guy that ends up staying around throughout the season and is a big part of what the Thunder are doing.
Okay, well, I guess I'll pick somebody else. I do want to leave Giddey, my note for Giddey on
Giddey,
there.
I have that note there. I do have that note there.
Cason Wallace, I think, is going to be a guy that's going to get a lot more run.
You and Troy agree. That was Troy's. Troy's was Cason's as well. So
yeah, I think he's going to be. I think he could be that very, very solid. I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to steal starting time or anything. You're like you said, your starting is pretty set, barring injury. But I think he's a guy that's going to come off the bench a lot. So
there you go. I like it. Well, make sure that you check out the game. It's tomorrow night, 7:00 against the Chicago Bulls, which means it's against our old buddy Billy Donovan tomorrow night. So
you tell me to check out the game. I'm not paying for Bally's freaking sports, dude. Can we just get the Thunder good?
I think it might actually be televised tomorrow night.
Okay. Well, I assume because there's I looked the other day and there's right now there's 3 Thunder games that are going to be televised. And me being in Florida, that doesn't help because it's I'm probably going to see
out of the
Heat
market
or Magic.
Get on and get the app for Hawks. The good old sports.
I
do
have. I need to look.
Call.
I think my YouTube TV has a deal right now where I can buy the NBA pass for $30, and I don't know I don't watch NBA as religiously as I do football. Obviously, you know what I mean. So I don't. It's always been one of those things. Even at a cheap price, I don't know it's worth it. But speaking of. I guess we talk some media before we wrap things up real quick.
Very quickly, yes.
Okay. I once saw The Creator.
Ah, yes.
So I like that the visuals are stunning. The acting is phenomenal. The sound is phenomenal. The story, I was told me, I'm going to go see it again. I'm going to watch it again, or maybe when it comes out on DVD or whatever. Or on streaming, I guess. It's not like a boomer because I said DVD. But yeah, story was a little, I don't know, like it was like I kind of picked where there's a plot twist to it, but like I spotted it like in the first 5 minutes of the movie. I was like, then probably where it's gonna go, and it's exactly where it went. Anyway,
Nice.
but I actually really enjoyed it. So that was really good. I do want to go see the new movie. Oh, I can't even think of it now. The new Scorsese movie. Uh
The lemon killer of
the Night Flower, whatever it's called. Anyway, I don't
yeah.
know. I do want to go see it. Apparently, like a lot of people have been saying there's a lot of Oklahoma history in there that like we weren't taught and stuff.
It's all about Oklahoma. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
and
So I,
filmed here as well.
yeah, yeah. So and I do there is some crazy stuff. So I do want to go see that. So I probably will. I've got like the Regal pass where I can go see like an unlimited number of movies. So I'll probably just go like one random evening and go see that. But yeah, I've heard good things. It's just obviously a Scorsese movie, so it's like 8.5 hours long. But yeah. Um and then our boy like Wrexham, I think their season of Wrexham's about to wrap up actually.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think they've only got
several
like
episodes behind.
yeah, I think I finally caught up. So but and then our boys Wrexham's they're doing good. They're so you said third? They're third on the
Third in the
table right now.
table.
And
Third
like I
on the
said, we talked
table.
about it. Their first, I think it was like I think it was their first 2 or 3 matches. Mullen didn't even play, who's by far their best player.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, would it be so awesome if they got 2 years promotion in a row?
Could you imagine? Can you imagine the storm of Wrexham fandom that already is, and how much it'd blow through the roof if they did that?
Oh,
It'd
dude,
be incredible.
I'm hyped for it. So, yeah, that's been pretty good. So I'm pretty I like the show's been really good. Like I said, even though you know what's gonna happen, like we know they got promoted, right? Like that's not
A
news.
secret, yeah.
But like the way they've done the show, and like even in the show, it's kind of funny. They're like this team, like they had I can't remember his name, but he was the guy that was like he was like a Premier League goalie for like years, and then he came out of retirement to play for him. I can't
Yeah.
remember his name now. But he's like, look, he's like, I played with Premier League teams, and he's like, this team is a lot better. He's like, it's several divisions higher in skill than where they're at in the National League. So he's like,
That's awesome.
they need to get promoted. So
That's so cool.
anyways, but yeah, I'm excited, man. I like Wrexham's a good thing. It's a good filler. F1's getting close to wrapping up. We will be they're heading to Vegas in like a few weeks, I think.
Yeah, it's coming fast.
Yeah, they're already like setting stuff up and everything. It's kind of funny because TwitchCon was this last week, and like a lot of people were complaining that it was hard to get around parts of Vegas because they're already setting up stuff for the Grand Prix, so they already have certain things closed off and everything. So yeah, it's been I don't know. This is like my favorite time. Like fall's my favorite time of year because of the weather. I enjoy the weather, but it's like, dude, there's everything. We have thunder,
Yeah.
right? We have
Yeah.
OU. I have Formula One. I have hockey is underway, which I'm starting to try to pick up hockey. Hockey is
Oh boy.
phenomenal to watch. We're not our Astros are out, but we do have playoff baseball.
Got
And
World Series baseball, yeah.
and we've got Wrexham soccer. So dude, I just hope for the day. I told you it was like it'd be like 20 years from now, but I want the day that I can watch Wrexham football like playing in Premier League. You know what I mean? Like I'm not having to do some like download some weird UK app just to watch a match and pay like 15 quid or whatever they
Yeah.
say. You know what I mean? Like I want to
That'd
be able
be
to just turn it
awesome.
on NBC or whatever and watch it. So anyway,
That'd be
but yeah,
so
good.
cool.
There's a lot of good stuff. So it sucks that we had to do a condensed pod a little bit, but hopefully next week we can be back and we talk a little bit more about stuff. I want
Yeah,
Troy
hopefully
on.
we can get back on the track of 2 and add a little more discussion in there, but it's getting late. And it's especially late for you.
Yeah.
And you've got to work tomorrow, all the things. So again, we appreciate all of you that listen, man. And I mean, especially to our faithfuls, man, Nemo, Swayze, Boomer 5. We
Sunshine.
know you listen. Sunshine is always in it.
Yeah, it's okay, Sunshine. I got you, buddy. I got you.
I mean,
Mo.
we've got some
He's forgetting
folks.
most of you. It's okay. It's the
Oh my gosh. I'm not trying to name every single one of them for crying out loud. Good grief.
yeah.
But all those that do ride with us, interact with us on social media, come in when we do live pods, all the stuff, man. We're grateful for it. Again, we're having a great time. We hope you are too. And if you are, do all the like, subscribe, everything like that. But again, it's been a blast for us. Hope you have a great night. I'm Daryl. That's Jared, and we will talk to you guys later.
Bye, Baker.